Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to today's drumming science experiment of sorts. We're going to take the same drum set and we're going to mic it with 8 microphones in the traditional way with kick, snare, 4 toms, close mic'd, and overheads. And we're also going to add in 8 more microphones in some non-traditional ways and some cool ways to see what kind of mix that we can get with this 16 microphone setup and compare the two. Now, I was going to use this Studio Legend reference pure kit back here from Pearl, but then I figured I don't want the drums to just sound so amazing right off the bat that the microphones can't do as much. So instead, I got this Pearl Export EXL kit here, which is a very budget-friendly kit. This 5-piece shell pack is under 500 bucks, and it's going to be kind of a good test to see not only how good the drums can sound, but how great the mix can be when you add in all the cool microphone angles and placements and stuff to create a really amazing mix for a really affordable and awesome drum set. So let's take a look. I'm going to sit down and play the drums here, and you're going to hear it 8 mics versus 16 mics back and forth while I'm playing the grooves, and we're going to see what happens. Let me know in the comments which you prefer, 8 mics or 16 mics, and stick around to the end where I do a bit more of a rundown of where the mics are placed and the preamps and how everything's working. So let's have some fun and play some drums. Alright, so now you've heard 8 mics and you've heard 16 mics. I'm sure you have a favorite out of the two. In my opinion, I think there's a place for both, but I really love how huge the drums are with the 16 microphones. The 8 is a little more closer and tighter sounding, and the 16 adds a lot of these different room sounds and adds a little more clarity on things like hi-hat and ride. And so let's talk a little bit about positioning of these microphones. Now, the standard 8 mics that we used at the beginning our close mic on top of snare, then top of tom 1, tom 2, tom 3, tom 4, 2 overheads, a right and a left, and then a kick drum microphone. And so that's your standard close mic setup. Sometimes you'll have a bottom snare mic because we have a 4th tom. We didn't do a bottom snare, we did the 4th tom. And then the 16 is where it really gets interesting because we're adding all sorts of different microphones that add depth and add different tones and EQ ranges and sound to the mix, because we've got a hi-hat and a ride mic on the 16, which is great because then you can turn those up a little bit, adjust them, get a clearer definition on the bell and on the bow of the cymbal as well as the hi-hat. So that's always a great addition. And then we have some really unique microphones. So on the snare drum here, we added a bottom snare mic, which is great, and oftentimes you use that in a studio setting. But we also added another snare mic on the side here aimed towards the hats, which is capturing kind of the low end of the snare because it has a kick pad on it. So it's an Earthworks SR25 with a kick pad, which gives it kind of that low end EQ kind of sound. In addition to that, we also have another mic here right in the middle of the kit, and as maybe it's not the best name, we always call it the crotch mic because it's aimed towards the drummer's crotch. You could just call it like center mic or something like that, but this microphone picks up a lot of great sounds from the kit because it's close to the toms, it's close to the kick drum, it's close to the snare. It really adds a lot of beef to the mix, and so I want to show you a sample of that crotch mic so you guys can hear what that sounds like. So next up we have another microphone. Now sometimes you'll do stereo room mics where you just have a right and a left out in front of the kit, but we put a room mic in the corner and aim it at the corner of the room kind of away from the kit. And that picks up so much low end because the corners are kind of like bass traps. A lot of the low end heads toward the corner. And so if you want to add that super low beefiness to the kit, the corner room mic is a good way to try that one out. So let's hear a sample of this microphone. And we also have one more room microphone, and that's the outside of the room mic. So on the other side of the studio door here, I have another microphone aimed in towards the drum set. And so what that does is it shields some of the high end. It also gives it kind of like a distance sound to it. It adds a little bit more depth. And when you close a door, you hear things differently on the other side. So it really adds a unique texture, a unique EQ range to the drum set, and I'll show you a sample of that microphone as well. And then we also have one more secondary microphone on one of the drums, and that's on the kick drum. Now, there's a lot of ways to double mic a kick drum. You can do a sub kick out front, you can put a microphone on the inside of the drum, laying down on the bottom of it, or in this case, we're actually miking the beater side of the drum. And so this one adds a lot of the punch, and it also gets that low end from the head itself and from this whole section of the kit. Now it's mostly been EQ'd for just the kick drum, but you do pick up some of the other pieces of the drum set as well. So let's hear that kick beater mic. Alright, so now you kind of know some of the behind the scenes on where the microphones are placed. Let's take a look at the actual preamp setup. Alright, so in this situation, we're actually using a pretty cool setup here. This is the ISA 828 from Focusrite, which is a higher end preamp, and it's really like a classic analog tone. It models some great preamps from the past, and it has a lot of options on here for really a fat tone. But because it's analog, I'm actually running it out of the analog outputs into a Claret Octo3 from Focusrite, and then using ADAT from that Octo3 into this Scarlett 8 Pre-X, which is also running those other 8 channels. So I've got 8 microphone pre's in here, and I've got 8 microphone pre's in the ISA, and together we've got the 16. Now, because this is running analog out, it needs to be converted to digital to go into the Claret 8 Pre-X, which is what this Octo3 is doing. Now, there is an option card on the ISA 828 that you can send via ADAT through from the ISA 828 directly into something like this, which is an interface, and then you have those 16 pre's directly. But if you don't have the option card, you can do it the analog way, which I've done here. And then this Focusrite 8 Pre-X is the biggest model in the Claret range, and it just has 28 in, 20 out. It's a super just versatile piece of equipment here, and you can do a lot with it. And you've got those 8 pre's, and you've got up to 28 overall in on this unit. Alright guys, thanks so much for tuning in and checking out this video. I hope that it was interesting and inspiring. Maybe try some new microphone angles or positions, and certainly cool to hear this amazing Export EXL kit from Pearl that I just got from Sweetwater, all tuned up, sounded amazing through all these microphones. I didn't know how amazing it would sound, but I knew it would sound awesome. So I'm super impressed as always, and it's super cool to be able to play drums like this and to hopefully show you guys some interesting stuff. So thanks for tuning in. Check out some more videos, and happy drumming.